It's episode 29 of Beyond the Blasters, a Star Wars podcast, and we're having a great time. So happy to be with you because we have so much to talk about this week. Jesse Buck, David Gilbert, they're the other two hosts of this awesome show. And I just mentioned it. We have J.J. Abrams talking about The Last Jedi and its influence or lack thereof on episode 9. Dave Filoni is talking about the mid-season premiere of Rebels Season 4. We have new ships and casting info for a Solo movie. And EA might not be continuing on making Star Wars movies, as hysterical as that sounds. We'll get into all of that in just a couple of minutes, but I guess I'm amped right now because we're about to do something new on the show. Here on Beyond the Blasters, it's breaking news. The first topic of our show today is the fact that it's being reported, or at least rumored, that Lucasfilm is trademarking the title Star Wars Resistance. And we have a report, thanks to the good folks over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. They've taken the original tweet, they've given us that, they've also given us their insight. And so, right now, David, if you can just go ahead and let us know, there was someone who posted an original tweet.
Jordan Mason, M-A-I-S-O-N.
Make sure we give him credit.
Yep, posted this on Twitter. And a lot of people were thinking right off the bat this was going to be something for a mobile game, because we know they're in the development of a couple of those.
Yes.
But they registered this name for books, games, toys, which are all the things they typically do when they have shows and movies coming out. All their other big media, they hit books, games, and toys. So maybe this is our next animated show that Filoni's doing?
Which would be really exciting, because we've talked about how Dave Filoni hasn't confirmed that next project after Star Wars Rebels concludes here in March. Jesse, I feel like the title Resistance tells you the timeline that if this is an animated series, it sounds like it's going to be during when the Resistance exists, which makes sense, right? The Return of the Jedi between Force Awakens, it's a good landmine. Is that what you want to see in the next animated series?
Depending on where Rebels goes and how that ends, because I just want to make sure that those characters that we've seen, Dave is swearing that he's closing some story arcs here, so
Yeah, so the series is ending.
Yeah, so if that's the case, though, the Aftermath books, those kind of take place between that time frame. They're fantastic. So if we can get more on that, if that's what this is going to be about, I'm totally down.
Go ahead, David.
I'm thinking we're going in between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Because if they're calling it Resistance, in the last movie, The Last Jedi, they made a very, very pointed effort to make sure that at the end of the movie they're calling them rebels all the time. Luke did that, Hondo did that. So it really can't take place after 8 in my mind. I'm thinking we're going to get something between The Force Awakens and Last Jedi, focusing on maybe the Knights of Ren. Since we haven't seen them, but they were kind of thrown out there.
I'd be good with that.
Something where we can actually see the full might of the First Order would be kind of neat.
A lot of fun ideas. There's a lot of potential there. We want to know what you think. If you think this is or is not an animated series, let us know down in the comments below. If this is the next animated series, when do you think it's going to take place? Again, that Star Wars Resistance, there's only so many places you can go with that title.
I gotta throw this out there. What if they're throwing us for a loop like they did with Blue Harvest?
Well, I guess that's valid, but that was a movie production title.
I know, but
Blue Harvest is out there though. But Resistance, that's a key word that they've been throwing at us in the last 2 movies.
That's true.
Let us know what you think. Let's go ahead and jump into Real Talk. And as we jump into Real Talk, we want to remind you that you're watching here on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and support us on Patreon for additional exclusive content. First topic of Real Talk here on episode 29. J.J. Abrams confirms that Star Wars Episode 9 script is complete, it is finished, and they are moving forward in that process. But he also had a few comments to say about The Last Jedi and its influence on Episode 9. Simply, he says that it will not have any effect. He is telling the story that he has come up with and is moving forward, and was asked if fan backlash regarding The Last Jedi would impact his storytelling. He said, absolutely not. Jesse, you hear that that's Abrams' stance. Do you like the fact that he's not redirecting his story based on the reaction, the mixed reviews from fans?
I don't know if that's actually a complete. This is the thing: is Star Wars fans right now they're kind of all over the place.
Yes.
You have people who, like Kevin Smith, actually, I thought said this the best. It was that Star Wars fans complained about how The Force Awakens was too similar to A New Hope, that it wasn't original. So then The Last Jedi comes out. We get this completely different story. with similar, plot elements and everything. But it's an original concept, and people were upset about it. So it's kind of one of those things. Yes, maybe not pay attention to everything the fans are complaining about. But I think if some of the stuff that fans did point out that I would say were more credible, more on the educated side of it, I think you should pay attention to, because it's just you don't want to ignore the fans, because overall I want a good story. We've already agreed on that,
right? But at the same time, Rian Johnson, he didn't listen to fans either, or maybe he did. He gave us something completely different. It just wasn't what some of us wanted. David, what do you think about when you hear J.J. Abrams' comments regarding The Last Jedi and it not influencing how he takes Episode 9?
I think that's what they wanted out of this from the get-go, because they determined when they set out to make this trilogy, they did not want a story group writing all three of the movies at once. Each director got to helm their movie. They got to develop what kind of story they wanted. And we know that things with Trevorrow didn't work out for Episode 9, so obviously the story that he wanted to tell is not what Lucasfilm wanted. So they found somebody else who was going to give them a different story, but it's still something where the director has the creative control over it.
Do we think that anything from Colin's script that he wrote for Episode 9, do we think any of that has been taken for JJ's script?
I doubt it.
Very doubtable?
I don't think so.
I think most likely it was probably viewed, just to get some basic ideas, maybe to expand on those, also maybe to see what didn't work.
Well, I was going to say, if he's off the project, there's multiple reasons, I'm sure, why he's off the project. So, JJ going at it by his own. All right, and you also have Chris Terrio helping him with that script as well, right?
Yes.
Co-writing on that. So, it'll be interesting to see what those two were able to create. Let's go ahead and jump to the next topic of Real Talk, because everyone's excited about bringing home The Last Jedi on Blu-ray and DVD, right? We have the release date. It is March 14th, correct?
That's for the digital version. It is March 27th for the Blu-ray and DVD.
And the thing about DVD and Blu-ray releases for Star Wars ever since Disney took over was the fact that Force Awakens comes out and you're hoping for all these bonus features, all the deleted scenes and the commentary of the director, and you got a couple of deleted scenes, and then you got all this behind footage stuff that we've already all seen. Rogue One did, I think, significantly better with giving you more content, but it really does seem that we are getting just a lot of stuff dumped, including a director's commentary with Rian Johnson. David, you have the list in front of you. Can you kind of break down, what we're getting on that DVD, and then we'll compare that to what we're getting on the Blu-ray?
So, compared to the Blu-ray, I don't think I have that.
Well, we'll start with DVD, it's fine.
So we're getting a director interview,
right.
Which should be pretty exciting. We're getting a second interview that's called Mythology of the Force that Johnson's doing.
That's pretty cool.
And it's going to bring his conversation and his rationale as to why he introduced to the movie some of these foreign concepts, like the, what do we call it, the Force float and the...
Force doppelganger.
Force doppelganger and stuff like that. Why he decided to bring that into Force mythology. There's a couple of production ones, one called Snoke and Mirrors. I thought that was kind of punny. That's how they created Snoke, both digitally and bringing Andy Serkis in. There's one called Lighting the Spark. It's about space battle stuff. A Showdown on Crate, where they're going to talk about how they took real-world locations and then used visual effects to turn them into the planet with the salt and the red earth underneath it. And then we're also going to get some deleted scenes like the Han Solo funeral or memorial service, something of that sort that they've cut out.
Scenes that should have been in the movie?
Yep.
Well, I think that's a really... you listen to that list that David just read off, and that is far and beyond more than what we got with The Force Awakens when they came out in 2015.
The one that kind of catches my attention is the fact that they have to insert something into the special, additions to buying this on. This is what explains the Force. Is that a response to fan backlash? Simply, or is that trying to?
I don't know. I feel like George did explanation during the prequels. I think there was explanation done in the original trilogy. I think it's interesting to learn about the influences that created the final product. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying though, because Rian Johnson after the fact had to get onto Twitter and basically post a screenshot.
I get what you're saying. I don't think Rian Johnson has to defend himself. His movie made almost right around $1.4 billion. The guy doesn't owe an explanation to anybody. No matter if you win it 5 times in theater because you liked it a lot, or you went 5 times because you hated it, he still got your money, and he still looks like a genius. And I'll say it, there are elements in that movie that I really like, and there are elements that I don't like. What I do like, though, is hearing his rationale. Should that influence the way you view that movie? It can and it can't. I don't care. If it makes your viewing experience better, wonderful. And then if you decide you don't agree with his rationale and you still don't like the movie, that's fine. But I think it's really interesting to see where these artists are inspired and why they were motivated to take the franchise a certain way. David, do you have anything you want to say about it?
No, I think I'm right on par with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to all these features, and the features are, this list is also the list of what you would get on the Blu-ray as well. Did we find, David, there was a difference, though?
So what I found is that there's no difference between the DVD and the Blu-ray, but depending on where you buy it at, whether it's a Target exclusive or multi-screen edition, or the Best Buy edition, you get more or less of those things we mentioned.
So which bundle would you recommend? Because I know there's also a steelbook version of this as well. So I mean, if we're gonna say go get the DVD, go get the Blu-ray, go get whatever, I'm gonna probably go get the Blu-ray. I would assume that would have the most content on there, since DVDs is kind of a dying trend.
Yeah, and you're paying more for a Blu-ray, so.
I mean, I can't say for certain, but from our friends at Star Wars Newsnet, it almost looks like the Target one is the best bundle, because it also comes with a 40-page gallery book.
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool.
Fantastic that we don't have a Target here in Quincy.
Yeah, we don't have a Target, and we also don't have a Best Buy. So it looks like we're road tripping to St. Louis. Sounds like a great time. And real quick before we go to the next topic, David, one more time. We know the digital release is March 14th, but when are we able to go to the stores and pick up a copy of our own?
March 27th.
March 27th. Well, on March 27th, we'll drive down there and get our copy, because you know what? No matter at the end of the day, we're Star Wars fans. And
do what we gotta do, don't we?
We gotta do what we gotta do, you know, because even if we feel mixed about it, we all know we're gonna watch that movie like 100,000 times before we die. Let's go ahead and jump to the next topic here in Real Talk. Real Talk, the segment where we talk about everything that's movie, TV related, unless it's breaking news, and then we go right off the top of the show, because that's how we roll. We have 2 new starships confirmed in the Han Solo movie, and we've seen these ships already in the teaser trailer that we got a few weeks ago, but we now have names for them, which is always kind of cool to get into. So the 2 ships that we have is the Imperial Hauler, and you have the Arrestor Cruiser. And I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Jesse, let's start with you. I think the Hauler, we can all say it looks like a cargo hauler ship and it looks fine. What's interesting about the Arrestor Cruiser is it's kind of a funky name, but it's recycled Ralph McQuarrie artwork. It doesn't work for you, does it?
No, it really doesn't, because I mean, I'm looking at it and I can actually see where they moved the bridge to a different point in the like they remove pieces to get the like your final Star Destroyer look.
Yes.
Definitely,
it does look like it influences it.
This looks like a I don't know, satellite dish, you know, worst nightmare for, you know, kind of thing, or like somebody who works with like satellite dishes is like this is like their dream vehicle spaceship.
Right.
Because it's got like 60 of the stupid things on there.
It's like the architect's cousin was a maker of satellite dishes.
Yeah,
and somehow
like
got 3 of them on each one of these things.
I mean, if they can make this ship work and look good on screen, that's great. Because I mean, again, this is kind of like concept art that, you know, we're seeing. But at the moment, I'm a little hesitant about this particular ship, because it doesn't look good to me.
It doesn't look that great, David. What's your interpretation of the ships?
I mean, here's the thing. I love Ralph McQuarrie's artwork, and he's given us a lot of iconic ships. But there's a reason why this particular ship design has been sitting on the shelf for 40 years, and it's because it's probably not his best design. It's impractical. I mean, if you were going to try to land that somewhere, you've got the 3 satellite dishes that are going to cause a boat ton of drag, because they're literally cups on the end of it, so it makes it impractical even for takeoff or for landing. It really, in space, we don't need a whole lot of satellite dishes the way they've developed this this universe, so I don't need it. But it looks ginormous, and it looks like there are other spaceships that are coming out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it does look like, it looks like Star Wars, and that's because, I mean, that's in the original design for the Destroyer, right? Once the Destroyer got up into space, it was never meant to come back down.
But I do love the Hauler. I think that's a beautiful ship.
The Hauler is pretty cool, and it's going to be exciting. We do get that one scene on the snowy planet. We're not sure if that's Corellia. We're not sure if that's Mimban. We're not really sure where that's at, but it's that snowy planet. You see kind of pull up, you know, when it almost crashes in that hill or whatnot. but both ships look really cool. I like the hauler more because it does look influenced by like the AT-AT, for example. Like the cockpit of the hauler, I feel looks like the head of the AT-AT, and so I like that consistency.
It seems more practical, you know, like...
Yeah, and it definitely feels like of the era, where like when I look at the Arrestor cruiser, it feels like, it almost looks like a rendering of like a spaceship that we would design, like in our world. Like it just doesn't really feel like it fits that
Again, I
galaxy.
don't know why we need 5 different satellite dishes. I mean, do they need that many TV channels?
I get what you're saying. I will say this, because we are kind of bashing the one ship. I do like the fact that you mentioned this, David, the ships are flying out of the Arrestor cruiser, and I think that's kind of a cool design.
I don't know how big those ships are. I mean, are those supposed to be ginormous ships coming out of it? Or there's more, smaller fighters of some sort?
Size-wise, it may be comparable to, say, Super Star Destroyer, would be my guess.
Oh, but not like an Executor, but like just a... Are you saying the Executor?
Maybe not exactly the Executor, but just kind of looking at it, that's kind of, I just kind of feel like that's roughly the size that we're seeing at. Maybe it's like we're thinking like mobile spaceport kind of thing.
I'm not sure. Do you know? Maybe you don't know. I don't think any of us know. Honestly,
over 2000s.
No one's going to know until May 25th of this year. So let us know what you think of these two ships down in the comments below. Do you like the hauler? Do you like the Arrestor cruiser? Why or why not? You let us know down in the comment section below. Let's go to the next topic here in Real Talk, and we are cruising along. Fourth and final topic here. Mark Hamill, congratulations, buddy. He is going to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Everyone applauds for Mark Hamill.
Come to Quincy, we'll buy a Taco Bell.
Mark Hamill is a weekly listener of Beyond the Blast Doors. We have not confirmed that, but we just believe that.
It's a happy thought.
It's a happy thought for sure. And it's just really exciting. It really is a great recognition for an individual who's not just Luke Skywalker.
I don't want to sound bad. I thought he already had one.
It kind of seems a little late for this.
Yeah, it's just... What took so long on this? Like, I actually thought he already had one.
I think it's really great. And like I was just about to say, is he's not just Luke Skywalker. The guy has an incredible resume as a voice actor. Mm-hmm. He also does have a few other film and TV notches on his resume as well. But
a lot of voice acting.
A lot of voice acting.
Notably the Joker.
Mm-hmm. Also was in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Darth Bane in Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
No joke.
Yeah, no joke. It's one of those lost episodes, right, where Darth Bane kind of comes back, and Hamill voices that character as well.
Was that one on Netflix?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I have the DVD if you want to borrow it. He also plays that really annoying greedy coin thing in Canto Bight.
No, that was one of my favorite characters.
Really?
Yeah, it really was, because that would totally be me, a drunk little alien pumping coins into a BB-8 unit.
Well, maybe that role right there is the one that got Mark Hamill the star on the Walk of Fame. It wasn't Luke Skywalker. It wasn't Krabby Ock 2 Luke Skywalker. It was the guy entering the coins into BB-8.
Yep.
Oh man, but hey, no, really cool to see that happen, and wish it would, like Jesse said, wish it would have happened a while ago. But cool that he gets the honor now. Yep. That's going to do it for Real Talk. If you have any comments, make sure you comment down below. We keep asking you to comment because we want to have that conversation with you. And if you haven't done it already, find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hang out there too.
We need your questions and comments.
Oh my gosh, yeah, tweet us. Come on. Hashtag Beyond the Blast Doors. It's as simple as that. Pages, Pixels, Pieces. David?
Will you make me a Twitter account?
You want me to make you a Twitter account?
No, but I feel like if we're going to keep promoting Twitter, you should make me one.
So you can like comment back?
No, so you can comment back from my phone.
Well, that's
Do you use your phone for Twitter?
I do.
Yes.
Absolutely not. All right.
I'm like kind of confused on that request.
Pages, Pixels, Pieces is the next segment in our show, and we're going to start off with a big one right here. And Jesse, we're going to be looking at you on this one to start things off because we are getting rumors now that Disney may be looking for a new developer to handle Star Wars video games. And again, this is a rumor. We've gotten some insight from a few sources. What are you understanding to be the situation right now?
Okay, so just kind of quick rehash. Battlefront 2 launched with microtransactions that were pretty much, they were pay to win. You had a credit card.
It made everybody mad.
Yeah, it made a whole bunch of people mad. Yep. It was, I mean, this was big news because there were countries that actually investigated this, determined that it was a source of gambling. I mean, this was serious stuff. You know, we covered this a couple of podcasts back where it was rumored that the CEO from Disney got in touch with the CEO from EA and basically pulled the plug on the microtransactions and said, hey, You got to pull these out. This is too much bad PR.
Okay.
Okay. So with that being said, fast forward to these rumors now. Now, I first heard about these rumors roughly about a week and a half ago.
All right.
And my own kind of personal theory is that EA kind of took a stance that nobody wants to play a single player game. We know that Visceral Games, which is a sub-dev of EA's, was working on a Star Wars title that was a role-playing action game, and that got pushed back because it didn't have multiplayer play. Okay, so my thoughts is I don't know if they're gonna because they still want Battlefront 2, and Battlefront 2 is a great game where it's at.
The campaign was great.
Yeah, the campaign was great. The multiplayer still needs a little bit of work and balancing, but overall it is an improvement to Battlefront 2015. With that being said, I don't know if they're going to pull the plug completely on this, but I think they're going to, instead of just having EA solely responsible, they're going to open this up to maybe some other developers like Bethesda, who's known for Skyrim.
So possibly other companies can come in and bid to win game titles.
Yes, because if EA doesn't want to make a single player campaign or like a single player game, I'm sorry, but again, Bethesda would be a great one. Skyrim is a very open world, very popular title.
But it wasn't even EA who kind of made the campaign for it, the single player. That was DICE. Who came in to help out with the game.
So really, this is a thing where, because there were 3 different groups working on Battlefront 2, so you might as well.
DICE, EA was backing DICE, and that was Criteria.
I can look it up.
We just want to make sure we have it right. But while he looks that up, the point being is, EA has upset a lot of fans because of their behavior. Battlefront 2, I thought was a great game, and honestly, I really had a blast. I beat the campaign in about 12 and a half straight hours. Like, it was a lot of fun. Like, I had.
But you haven't played the online portion, right?
I have played the online portion,
but
the
not
thing about
regularly.
Not regularly, and I'm not very good. Like, by the time I pop up on the map, I get killed off, and I don't like the idea that, like someone on the other side of the globe is just like waiting for me, and I just have no chance. I'm not good enough. But the campaign is why I buy the game, and that's for a lot of people. Is we want the canon story. So I got the canon story, and I thought that was great. DICE gets credit for a large portion of that. If EA is going to continue to jerk around with the franchise, then just dump them. I mean, what's wrong with saying that?
This isn't the only game that EA has kind of jerked around. I mean, there's BioWare Austin, who was in charge of Star Wars: The Old Republic. That game has a lot of potential. Honestly, if they had more funding and a larger staff, it'd be crazy what they could do with that game itself.
Right. And David, who's the third company? Because
Criterion. And I think they brought Criterion on strictly to kind of polish out the flight controls and the flying mechanics.
Which I really enjoyed the game. I mean, I don't think it's a bad game, but it's these, they take away the microtransactions and then they reintegrate them.
Rumor has it it's more on a cosmetic level.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with Overwatch, you've got the little crates there where you can get emotes that your character can do, or like a character appearance. I'm okay with that. If you want to spend $5 to get a certain appearance for your trooper or something, that's fine. That's not game breaking. The issue the first time around was the fact that you were able to unlock weapons and power ups. And this isn't about bashing Battlefront as a game, because again, I've played it, I still play it, it is a fantastic game. The issue here is a little bit larger, is that EA, again, they kind of got bashed on at the E3 conference over the summer for being anti-single player game. And I think that the issue here is that I think Disney, if they want games that actually kind of help fill out some of the lore and the canon and everything, they're going to have to open this up to a larger market. Personally, I would love to see Bethesda helm a game. If they decide to make another MMO, it'd be kind of a long shot, but we know that Blizzard Entertainment is kind of the top of the game on that when it comes to...
It would be great to see Blizzard back involved with Star Wars.
It would be really cool to see them, helm a game. I don't know if that would happen because their hands are full with their own franchises and titles, but
they have the resources to be able to
do
multiple
resources
things at once, and that's the key here, because that's why EA got the bid in the first place, and then contracted out with DICE and Criterion to get some more help, because they do have the financial backing.
But
Time will tell. We'll find out together.
Again, all rumor.
All rumor, nothing confirmed, but I think great discussion nonetheless. Our next topic of pages, pixels, and pieces is that we now have Solo, a Star Wars story, tie-in books and comics revealed, and there is just a slew of comics and books revealed. David, you have the list in front of you. Before we go to that list, I just kind of want to mention what I'm looking forward to, and Jesse, can talk about maybe a title that has your interest. I want to explore the Han and Lando relationship. Last Shot is the novel coming out, and I'm looking forward to that because that's actually going to take us all the way into like the Force Awakens era. So I'm really excited about that because if we're talking about from the formation of the relationship between the two, jumping all the way through that, whatever that is, 30, 40, 50 year span, that to me is really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what elements of that relationship is explored. Maybe they were close in it at this juncture. They had a falling out, maybe a time when they lost, Lando loses the Falcon. But it'll be exciting to see how that plays out. But more interesting to me is what happens to Lando post Return of the Jedi. Because even though this is Solo, a Star Wars story, I think a lot of intrigue here with this property is going to be Lando and what a young Lando looks like. But also seeing if we can uncover some information about the character after Return of the Jedi. And so that's what I'm looking forward to with that book, is getting some of that, the formative years of the relationship, but also, where does Lando go with the rebellion and Han post Return of the Jedi? I would assume, wouldn't Lando be the best man at the wedding for Han and Leia? Like, do they have best men and women in Star Wars?
It's a big galaxy. They probably do, and they probably don't.
Can you imagine the wedding size, too? She's a princess of Alderaan. Well, I guess her guest list is kind of small.
You do.
They got all taken out in the destruction. Yeah. Oh, too soon?
Too soon.
You get to play, I think, a chapter's worth in Battlefront 2 as Lando, which is post Return of the Jedi era.
So he's still around.
You know that he's still around, but again, this is somewhat rather immediately after, Return of the Jedi, so I think, are you talking more maybe 2-3 years after?
Where's he at around Force Awakens? Is that guy dead? Is he dead? Is he still alive? Is he still I don't know, flirting with women? Does he have a healthy libido? These are the questions I want to know about Lando Calrissian, and I hope to learn about his healthy libido and other things in this book.
I don't know where to take this conversation.
That's okay, David.
Well, when you're wanting to learn about Lando's sexual appetites, I'm more interested in learning more about Lando himself.
Okay.
Because growing up, Lando was not my favorite character in the series. I felt he was kind of a two-timer, which he was. I felt he was kind of a scoundrel, which he was. So I want to learn more about him, and I don't know a whole lot about Donald Glover, but everybody seems really excited that he's in the Solo movie.
Yeah.
So with all this talk about Lando with Solo, what I'm really excited about in this book is that it's actually got two covers, a Han cover and a Lando cover. You can flip the dust jacket back and forth, but 2 out of the 3 segments of the book are going to be Lando. The first segment of it's going to be him and his droid before the events of Solo, and then the last section of it we get the whole group with a young Ben Solo. And I wonder what Ben Solo is going to learn from Uncle Lando.
It's going to be so good.
So this is a book that I'll probably pick up and I'll probably read as long as... I'll probably do it after Solo comes out just so I can watch that first.
Up some bodybuilding.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that Ben Solo's pectorals are because of Uncle Lando showing him how to bench. That's awesome. That's going to happen. By the way, side note, have we all seen the Lego shirt? I think this is Star Wars News. StarWarsNewsNet.com has this t-shirt design where it's the Lego minifig of Kylo Ren, but then it's got the 1x2 piece as pectorals.
I shouldn't say anything because I'm a stockier guy. I feel like if I took the time, I would basically be a giant rectangle block too.
Oh man, I still just want to.
I would argue that Adam Driver he's in shape.
I just want to know. I just want to know the work ethic that man had to put in the gym. But now we're going on a tangent. Is there another book that we should be looking forward to when it comes to Most Wanted? I think is a book where it's going to be teenage Han Solo and Kira. They're going to be doing
about their formative years and how they build their relationship together.
That's great.
She's a love interest.
I want us to be careful though, because I think it's easy to scoff at the young adult novels, but some of the best Star Wars stories we have gotten so far are the young adult. Ahsoka, Lost Stars. Claudia Gray also had the Bloodlines story. These are essential, and I would go as far as saying quintessential new Star Wars canon stories. So I would definitely pick that book up if you see it on your local store shelves.
I mean, the cool thing about this book release article from our friends at Star Wars Newsnet is that there are so many different types of books coming out. It'll engage every level of the fandom. So we've got the official solo guide, which is like the visual encyclopedia. We've got another one on creatures and aliens. Then we delve into some kids' books. So the Mighty Chewbacca in the Forest of Fear. There's a couple Star Wars adventure comics coming out, a new Lando miniseries. When you were a kid, did you have the little golden books?
Yes, and I wanted you to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
We sell a couple of those, by the way.
Do you? Because those were my favorite growing up. So they've got one called Star Wars I Am a Wookiee, with 3 Wookiees on the cover. One, of course, being a Chewbacca and a little treehouse up there.
So I want to love this because I had almost the entire collection. Like my mom and dad made sure like I had all these books and I read them. But the only problem I had with them was like the cardboard backing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you bent them, they would make a certain like scrape sound that would gross me out. That's a personal problem, I realize that. But I think it's cool. This is a cool way to present Star Wars for that younger generation.
If I ever have children, that's all they're going to say is they're going to get Star Wars pop-up books, not C-Spot.
But I want to make sure that I point out, I want this presented this way to my child. I would not show them the Forces of Destiny cartoons.
Right.
You know, I think there's a difference in the presentation. I think both properties are trying to attack that younger demographic the same way.
This is good. This is garbage.
Well, and that's because again, you like what you like, you don't like what you don't like, and that's fine. I'm just I will buy this book and save that for my child.
Now, the one that really caught my fancy, do you guys remember in like the late 80s, early 90s, they had those choose your adventure books where you like read a page, and then if you wanted the character to do something, you turn to page 50, and if you wanted them to do something, you turn to page 90.
Yeah, it was like the precursor to learning about like Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu and all that stuff.
Sure. Well, maybe for you,
for
because
me.
you know, you're a child. But they have one, and all we have is cover so far. We don't know anything else about it. But it's called Choose Your Destiny, a Han and Chewie adventure.
Okay.
And I'm really hoping this is going to be one of those Choose Your Adventure books, because I would totally pick this up immediately.
Is this something we could do as a group?
Sheets and card game.
But seriously, is this a way we could do this as a group?
Yeah, I mean, we sit here and read it, and then we determine which way we want to go. Like Dungeons and
Well,
Dragons.
I don't know if we'd be able to read that on the air. Copyrights.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
We can't like stream that, like us playing the game.
Well, it's not a game, it's reading a book.
Oh, it's reading a book.
Yeah, playing a game's different, but actually reading a book out loud on there is.
Well, I was just going to suggest that we do a live stream of doing that, but we will not anymore.
Sorry.
We are not going to pick our destiny with you on the live stream.
But
We'll do that on
there
Friday.
are sticker books that we can get.
Oh, great! So we can put that's right. We'll put a sticker on your laptop. How's that sound?
No.
Is there anything else on that list that we haven't got to? I mean, there's a slew of comics. I know you mentioned the Star Wars Adventures. Of course, our buddy Nathan Greno did one of the covers for them. Issue number 4.
I mean, anything else with a whole lot of substance? Not really. I mean, if you're into it, they've got the Star Wars Adventures with some cool covers on it.
There is a ton.
They've got the free comic book day for Star Wars Adventures coming out.
I'm gonna get that.
And it's a couple aliens looking at Han and Chewie. And Chewie looks like grumpy, like he's getting ready to rip somebody's arm off. And Han's just like, hey! Kind of like he's the Fonz getting
hey!
You know?
Hey! Okay, I did it, and now I feel like I'm a follower and not a train center. I think that was awesome. Anything else that we need to talk? I think we hit it all. Okay, so if you're interested in like literally 27 different Han Solo books, now is the time to be alive. Comment down below if there's anything that stuck out in your mind that you like the most. Maybe a book that you'll pick up, or maybe you like the Han Fonz that David just created for all of us. Let's go ahead and jump to the next topic. And it's always fun when we get to talk about toys. New York Toy Show just happened, and we got to see a lot of really cool things. Black Series
really
figures.
cool stuff
Guys,
there.
I'm so excited.
Why?
We're getting another Millennium Falcon.
You son of a... I can't do it because I can't do it. But I
We're
want
a family
to.
show.
We're a family show.
This one's more affordable than the $800 take out a mortgage.
It is, but you know what though? I did a video right now, and I'm glad you brought this up, David. Did a video on our YouTube channel within the last week breaking down the official Lego images of this new Star Wars Millennium Falcon. I'm not going to go into it too much. I think I like this more than the Force Awakens model that I have behind me, but I will say this, it is $20 more expensive. And I'm not sure where I'm seeing it. I'm predicting that this is going to have a lesser piece count. The only way that I think it would actually have more, though, is because, again, the front, we know that the mandibles of the Falcon, those prongs in the front part of the ship, those mandibles actually, they have like another little portion locked in there. Either it's like a cargo hold or an escape pod. I'm pretty sure it's a cargo hold.
How many minifigures came with the Force Awakens?
The Force Awakens set came with, let me make sure I get this right, an older Han Solo, Rey, a Finn, a BB-8, a 2 bounty hunters. So it's 7, and you got a Chewie.
Okay.
So you got like 7 or 8 minifigures,
I think we're getting about the same with this one as well.
You're getting a fair amount. You're getting Luke, you're getting Kira, you're getting Lando, you're getting a red droid. I think they're calling it a Kessel droid. So I don't know the role of that. Maybe that's a mining droid. So that's interesting. I don't think you're getting a Beckett minifigure. You're getting Han, Chewie,
Just 5.
Lando, so just 5. So you're getting fewer minifigs. Maybe the piece count does hit over 1,400 pieces, and the only reason why that would be, again, is because of that cargo hold that's there for the front mandibles of the ship. And
14.
Mashable did, thank you for clarifying the piece count, David. Mashable did a story right as the ship was revealed, Jesse, and it showed the function of that cargo spot being able to slide out, shows us the interior of the ship. I really do visually like the way that LEGO has done it. I have my issues for the paneling because there's a lot of gaps in between, even worse than this model. Wish they would have smoothed that out. But I thought still that the Falcon looked really cool. You really dug the Black Series figures that they showcased, and they had the Han line, the Han Solo line, but there was the Rex. You saw the Rex for the first time.
I think you were telling it was the San Diego Comic-Con they had an exclusive Black Series Captain Rex.
And now it's coming out for everybody.
Yeah, so that makes me really excited because it makes it more accessible. But this is a really sharp looking figure. I mean, the detail on it looks great. It wasn't the only figure too. I believe they had a Tarkin, and it was like spot on, like really cool. It was one of the things I always hated growing up as a kid when it came to action figures was how
they didn't look like the person.
Well, it's just like like the old Hasbro or the Kenner Luke Skywalker I had. Well, Luke apparently spent 60 days in the gym nonstop and was all bulked up and everything.
I really like the Han Solo line that we got to look at. We got Han, Lando. I think we got a Kira, and we got a Stormtrooper, right? What's that trooper?
It's
is that the scout or the
No, they're calling it a range stormtrooper. And it looks stupid.
Really? Because I think it looks awesome. It's got this wool jacket, which I don't know how practical that is when you're in armor.
I don't like that.
But I like the mech boots that it wears. Did you see that? They're mech boots.
It's an interesting trooper.
Kind of like it kind of reminds me of the gear from the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Like that mechanism that helps. Or I guess it was The Dark Knight Rises, but it helps Batman kick. It's kind of mechy. I liked it. What's there not to like about it? I mean, I get the jacket. It's like why I get mad about what is that, Scar Squadron or whatever in the comics. The one trooper has a cloak. It's like, what's the point of that? Aesthetically, it makes no sense. But
this is supposed to be an army. This is supposed to be a uniform. Uni meaning singular. So I get it. You need to have different types of equipment for different terrains. So we get the desert trooper, we get the scout trooper for the forest, we get the snow trooper and the traditional trooper. We've already got a trooper that's made for the snow, that's got the different mask and everything, and theoretically better armor. So if they wanted to give this guy something new, just give him the damn boots. Why did they have to give him a fur coat to go with it? Is he getting ready to walk down the runway? Oh, look at me.
Well,
clunk,
considering
clunk.
Again, you got to consider that this movie is taking place where some of the current Empire, the stuff that we're used to seeing in the original trilogy, is you look at Rebels and the AT-ATs don't look like the AT-ATs from Empire Strikes Back.
And I don't want to get too excuse me here, but I do want to have a clarification because the snow trooper that we get in Empire, we see basically the same outfit in Revenge of the Sith. The clones that take out Ki-Adi Mundi.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but now, what I can say is, now if you think about it this way, a different planet, 2 planets could both be snow planets, but their climate or their gravity or their atmospheric contents could be different. I don't think a snow jacket really makes a difference. I think it just looks cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think it looks, okay. I'm kind of with you that as long as it serves some practicality, in there, like if it's...
Maybe the trooper needs to put out a fire and uses the jacket to put out the fire, like it's a plot device. It's like, guys, glad I had this jacket on because if I couldn't, we couldn't put out the fire.
Watching too many of these Forces of Destiny little
Very fair enough. Anything else that we saw with the New York Toy Fair that we want to talk about? I think we covered it all. The Falcon was a big thing. The figures were awesome.
Interesting concept Hasbro is doing, and I only caught a tail bit of this, but it's called HasLab.
Okay.
And they're kind of borrowing the GoFundMe, Kickstarter kind of stuff. But they were kind of displaying a Jabba's sail barge and like...
Yes.
It was like...
I did see this.
If you... here's a concept. If you like it, donate the money and, then we'll make it kind of thing. Kind of more like an on-demand.
But do you donate and then have to pay for the finished product?
I'm not sure. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't catch all the article, but I did think that was kind of cool. Like, what they presented was kind of an interesting...
All right, so maybe we're able to... Maybe we can look that up at some point over the last half hour here.
HasLab.
HasLab, but maybe we can bring that up on Staying on Target. Maybe we can do that. All right, we'll do that.
I presume that's your cue that you want me to look this up on the Google machine.
That would be the cue since you're the one with the computer.
HasLab.
Let's go ahead and jump to the next topic real quick, though, because we have a lot of comic news, and that'll buy David some time here. But back issues, Darth Vader, we had Darth Vader 11, Thrawn number 1, Poe Dameron number 24. These were comics
You better not be talking about Darth Vader number 11 without me.
No, I'm not. I'm just mentioning the fact that we had all these comics that happened in the past that we haven't been able to really talk about. Poe Dameron 23, won't say much. Basically, Lor San Tekka is there, and a lot of people want him dead. But first, they need to get the information from him about where Luke Skywalker is, and you have that saga there. Phasma makes an appearance, whatnot. Thrawn number 1. Thrawn number 1. I want to talk about this one because this was a big one because it was that adaptation of Timothy Zahn's novel, and you want to read the novel first. So you haven't read the comic.
I have not read the comic.
I have read the comic. David has read the comic. David, you have not read the novel.
Correct.
I have. So you have 3 completely different perspectives. And he knows nothing. I know some, and he knows a little less.
I know that Thrawn's in it.
Good job, Jesse.
A for effort.
A for effort.
Right?
Now, I know David is pulling up his notes right now, and I want to make sure that we get the writer.
I'm at HasLab right now.
Oh, you're at the HasLab? Do you want to? All right, go ahead.
No, I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, cool. So
my laptop's trying to connect to my apartment, which is like,
over there, but we're in my kitchen right now.
Yeah, so that's why I just switched.
So let's talk about Thrawn number 1. That's where we are.
Yep.
We're on that wavelength.
Yeah.
What are your first impressions of the character of Thrawn and the book?
So I don't know anything about Thrawn. Mm-hmm. I've never seen him in Rebels. I haven't read the book. All I hear is you two talking about him on the show with admiration. And I'm reading this, and I'm glad I'm kind of reading it in picture form so I can see what he looks like. Because beyond that, I just know he's blue. Kind of looks like a Smurf without the hat. But a lot more menacing, apparently, because this was a phenomenal comic. He is possibly like right up there now with.
Do you understand why Dave Filoni brought him back?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you get this tactician. You learn about this individual who's a fighter. He's kind of out for himself.
And he has the balls to like get up in the Emperor's face at his first meeting with him.
Thrawn is like I haven't as we stated, I haven't read this comic, I haven't read the book. Like I read the original, Timothy Zahn, books and everything, and they were fantastic. He was one of my favorite characters. So having Dave Filoni bring this back, bring life back into this character, and then now we're actually getting more.
Well, the fact that Timothy Zahn has a official canon novel and a second one is coming out this year, that's most exciting for me. David, what's your biggest takeaway from this issue? What has you excited the most about the next? If you can't just pick one, that's fine.
He's very conniving. He says in there that there are very few traps that cannot be turned against their designers. And throughout the issue, there are 3 or 4 instances, because it's a big issue, like 40 pages, where he goes into things where he's being set up to fail, and he flips it around and walks out on top. And it is beautifully done. And he's driven. He's got that aspiration at the very end of it. The gal that he brings on as his assistant, who's fighting it, she says something like, well, maybe when you're an admiral, or, only admirals can, get their way on things. And he turns back and says, well, when I'm an admiral, we'll have that conversation. and then the guy makes the comment that you know, he'll either get there or he'll die trying because of his, you know, that's the way he rolls. So I'm excited to see where he goes next. He's ruthless, he's driven, he's ambitious, he's got the goals to, you know, stand up for what he wants.
I'm so happy you like this comic because I thought if there was a new comic to get you on board with, other than Vader, it would be this one because I feel like from a strategy standpoint, you get what I think this comic does a really nice job of is it also captures the magic of the novel that I enjoyed, which is you really feel like you're inside Thrawn's mind, and you're seeing the story play out through his eyes. So really well done. And before we go on to the next, David, can you pull up I want to make sure we give kudos again to the writer and the artist on Thrawn because let me tell you, the writing, it's not an easy job to adapt a book to comic script. That's not an easy thing. It is quite challenging. And also to visually capture Thrawn and that Imperial world is quite the task too. And it's done flawlessly. You've seen a couple images up on your screen, and you got to really step back and have an appreciation. Like, this is great. It's a cool interpretation of Thrawn because so far at this point we've seen, you know, the hair of the Thrawn trilogy artwork. You've seen Thrawn in Rebels. But to see him in comic book form was pretty cool. Do we have that?
Yes, written by Jody Hauser.
Okay.
Art by Luke Ross.
Yes, okay, so I just want to make sure we give them a shout out because they really did tremendous work. And no disrespect for not remembering, just got a lot in the head that we're trying to cram into 1 hour. Let's go ahead and talk real quick about Darth Vader 11 because then it will propel us to what we hope to see in Darth Vader number 12 that comes out this week. So in 11, I did a blog post about this. In case you didn't know, you can find us on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com, and there I did a post about issue number 11, and Jesse, you read this issue, and so has David. Jesse, let's start with you, though, because, you know, Darth Vader walks into a bar, and it's not really a setup to a bad joke, but it really is, you know, what happens is essentially Vader's going to the space bar, and he becomes the hunted instead of the hunter.
Yeah, you know, this is, you know, we got a new story arc, you know, with this comic, right?
Yes.
So it's different because
it's a new starting point.
It's a new starting point, but at the same time, I was just like, well, this is kind of
talk to me about what you like. Tell me what your story
like really is. Like, did you want the whole shebang? Like,
no, I want you to like in 20 seconds or less. I want you to tell me what you're really enjoying about number 11.
I mean, again, we're seeing a continuation of fantastic writing, and you know, the artwork and everything is good. In general, we kind of talked about this last week, so we're like, well, who do you think's behind this kind of stuff? And you know, it ended up being, I don't really want to spoil like any of the
We won't spoil the ending. We want people to keep buying the issue.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, yeah, I kind of like where this is going. You know, it might need a little bit, maybe a couple more issues here to really kind of get the ball rolling and everything, but I like the direction.
It's a new arc. I will tell you that I was not a big fan of this issue. I think visually, Giuseppe did a really tremendous job. I think there were 2 moments in this issue where the story failed me. Vader is ruthless. Vader is emotionally unstable. Vader is a killer. Vader, the relationship that Vader has with the 9th sister at the beginning of this issue is beyond obnoxious to me. He's like sarcastic, smarting off to Vader. If this is the same Vader that has cut off limbs and doesn't respect the Inquisitorius anyways, how is the 9th sister just not stabbed outside of this bar? Like, how does he just not get thrown off this platform? I was so annoyed by the 9th sister. He's like, well, you know, you something, well, you know, I gotta be careful because the last time I said something, you cut off my eyeball. And it's like, then why don't we just hack off your head now because you're a waste of time? It was just really, it just didn't work for me. I wish this issue would have started with Vader literally just walking into the bar, because when you walk into this space bar, immediately the action starts. The bounty hunter starts firing. They have this explosion. David, what are your thoughts? I don't want to go too far into my dissatisfaction before we hear from you.
No, I hear you. So I'm a huge fan of this line, of course.
Right.
And out of 11 issues, to me, this one was the weakest.
I would agree with that.
So I don't want to say that it was bad necessarily, because it wasn't bad, at least to me. But when you're comparing, you know, different types of champagne, this one was a little flat to me. but I still enjoyed it. You know, I'm not a big fan of the concept of the Inquisitors, so you know, his conversations with the Night Sisters were whatever to me. His little sassiness for turning off his radios,
I would
whatever.
say that's maybe the one tidbit that I'm kind of with you on that.
But when Vader's inside the bar and he's using the people in the bar as a human shield.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and spoil this for you because basically there is this attack.
Just did it.
Yeah, you're fine. There's this attack on Vader. Vader's lightsaber kind of gets like sucked off his belt because they have like this magnetic gun. He uses the Force to try and bring it back. Lightsaber breaks. There's an explosion. It's combined with the Kyber crystal. Big explosion happens. They start attacking Vader. Vader starts using patrons of the bar as a shield to protect him. And it's a pretty epic panel. I mean, it's probably one of the best looking panels and sequence of panels we've gotten in the run. Again, love Giuseppe's work. And again, I like Charles Soule's writing. And I'm not saying this is a terrible issue, but I think David said it best. Of the 11 issues we've gotten, this one was the least exciting for me.
And did we totally call it that it was the Emperor?
Oh!
Because we were talking. We even figured it was the Inquisitors or Emperor.
Even since he dropped the bomb, like the foreshadow, like as I'm reading this, you know, it's, you know, oh, we got a report of a Jedi. The purpose of the Inquisitors is to hunt down remaining Jedi.
Right.
Okay. So Vader, you know, shows up to this, as this Inquisitor puts it, this daily routine. He's almost like a street cop kind of thing. Oh, you know, it's just you know, probably just a capsule or something like that. People call these in all the time. And you know, so Vader goes in, and yeah, I mean, we get some awesome, you know, artwork and everything, and action.
Well, we're going panel by panel here. Let's just go ahead and say the fact that Vader, there's a bounty placed on Vader. This family of bounty hunters tries to fulfill that bounty. It doesn't go in their favor. Vader hunts them down. I'm just trying to summarize a little bit more quickly. Yeah. There's the speeder chase that Vader pursues this family of bounty hunters, and it's like I said, a family. So he goes and he threatens to kill the daughter unless they reveal who placed the bounty. It's revealed that the call came from the highest point of the Senate building back on Coruscant, which is
Palpatine.
Palpatine's office.
Okay, so the thing is that, you know, the bounty is that it's on a Jedi and everything. So that's where you've got the Inquisitor, you know, who's like, you know, it's just, you know, this, you know, and then they walk in and boom, you get this little yep, that's our bounty, and it's a hologram of Vader and everything. Thanks, David. So it's just kind of like, as soon as that hologram of Vader popped up, I was like, it's Palpatine. Yeah, like it gave away, like I knew right away that who else would do this. It's reminiscent of previous Sith things.
Well, it's also reminiscent of a couple issues ago where what happened? Palpatine set Vader up by sending him to the Jedi Temple to take out a intruder. It was the Inquisitor. I mean, all these times, is it the Emperor testing Vader, or is it the Emperor trying to eliminate Vader to go find the next best thing?
This is something combination.
It's a combination. It's because at the end of episode 3, what's he get? He gets a crispy critter as an apprentice, and you know, now he's sitting there going, okay, well, this guy, he can't use Force Lightning anymore because he's 90% machine. You know, he's got really bad asthma now, and you know, it's just one of those things where Palpatine is probably going, you know, wondering, is this actually a useful tool?
Yeah. No, I think that's a really
so I think that's why he's going to be routinely, constantly challenging Vader.
He also tested all of his other apprentices too.
Yeah.
Throwing things at Darth Maul, throwing things at Count Dooku, and eventually, you know, it was Anakin who killed Dooku, of course. So I don't see this as being anything other than a standard day for Palpatine.
It's like a typical Sith. I'm going to have a coffee, and how can I kill Vader today?
This is why I love doing this show, is because of conversation just like this, where we can speculate and discuss, and it's so fun to be able to call on prior knowledge. It's a lot of fun, and I think you can hear the passion that we have for number 11, which is why we're going to be so excited for number 12. And I think we can all just kind of simply say that it's clear that Vader's probably going to be knocking on Palpatine's door in issue number 12.
A little rocky start, but I think we're in the right direction. I think we'll get some cool issues after this.
Still by far the best Star Wars series out there in comics, by far. Charles Soule, Giuseppe Chemical, they crush it. Let's go ahead, last topic, because we are running a little long here. We're going to hit Lightspeed. Yes, David.
Do you want? I got the HasLab stuff. Do you want to do that before you forget?
We mentioned HasLab earlier in the show. Let's go ahead and we can just mention that, staying on target. We'll just keep that, like we said, we'll just keep that at the end of the show. Let's talk about Dave Filoni, because he kind of discussed recently in an interview about the mid-season premiere of Star Wars Rebels, Season 4. And
Still heartbroken.
we did, Jesse and I did our first BTBD Rebels review the other night, which was a lot of fun. A half an hour of just talking about Star Wars Rebels, which was great. What I was interested with these 2 episodes was hearing why Dave Filoni, what's going on with the Wolf and Kanan, what's going on with Hera right now, what's going on with all these characters, and Dave Filoni touches on a few of these things. And so I want to say, I'm spacing on who he did this interview with. I think this was Sci-Fi News, but I'll double check that here in a second. Jesse, he talks about how with Kanan and the Lothal Wolf, the one that can talk, one cannot come before the other. So they're connected in somehow. That's been teased. What do you think about, because you've read Dave Filoni's quote, what are your thoughts on Dave's words? In fact, David, can you go ahead and pull up that story? And I just want to read the verbatim that he has. So we'll have the verbatim read, and then we'll react to that. Because I think, in case you haven't watched or read those statements, just to kind of bring you up to speed, what Dave Filoni is talking about. So first off, he did an interview. Can we tell, who did he do that interview with? Sci-Fi News, was it?
I'm still looking.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just...
Sci-Fi Wire.
Sci-Fi Wire, wonderful. And the first quote is about Kanan. Can you go ahead and read that for me?
What I will say is that Doom the Wolf, is that Doomy? Doom the Wolf can't exist until Kanan the Jedi is gone. Those 2 things don't exist at the same time. Doom the Wolf has a lot in common with Bendu as far as what kind of thing they are. There's a similarity between those type of occurrences. The only wolf that's particularly what you would call real are probably the gray ones that are always running around but don't really say much. The white one is more of a guide. We can get into that later. There's a little more you need to know before we really break it down.
I think, so there's a lot there. I really get excited about where he compares to the Bendu. The Bendu is obviously the one in the middle, which is kind of this, I don't know, I would equate it to, Obi-Wan Kenobi showing up to Luke and Hoth, kind of like that Force vision type of thing. What are your thoughts about Dave's response about, Doom the Wolf cannot happen before Kanan the Jedi dies?
It's kind of interesting because, hearing that quote again and everything, I rewatched Rebels and everything, and in the episode Doom, there is a moment between Ezra and this wolf, and Ezra goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "Doom," and Ezra's like, "Well, that's my master's name." So it's kind of interesting that there is some sort of connection here, what is this?
Is this Kanan's afterlife? I think it's really interesting.
I mean, a part of me is kind of I'm curious in a good way, but at the same time, I don't really want a spirit animal.
I get that, but you know what? There is I can't recall who did this, but there was a great meme out there where it's showing you the shoulder plate of Kanan, and it's the same symbol that's on the wolf's forehead. So I think that I think this is taking us in the direction that somehow Kanan has transformed in the afterlife to being this entity that can call out to Ezra. But we'll see how that flushes out. I do like how Dave says, there's more for you to see.
It's almost give it a moment. Yeah, you'll probably like it.
Trust him. Trust Dave. Trust the story group. Another thing they talked about was Hera and Hera's moment with Chopper. Hera's a strong person, but she's going to feel this pain, and specifically talks about how Chopper reaches out to them. I thought it was interesting to hear from Dave even say the droid has feelings. What were your thoughts on Dave's comments about Hera and Chopper kind of consoling each other?
Simply just look at what's already there lore-wise. Look what happened to C-3PO at the end of Episode 3. What is said, have the protocol droid's memory wiped. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in some ways, at this point, 3PO's memory hasn't been wiped in probably 30 years canon.
Yeah, there's a lot of
since
stuff.
The acquisition from Luke to Last Jedi. But you look at R2, Okay, now this is another astromech droid with a lot of personality.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't had his memory wiped.
Yeah.
And I would assume that this is the same thing for Chopper. Hera has had Chopper since the Clone Wars. He's been with her from day one.
Very good points. Very good points. And that kind of leads us into the third quote that we have from Dave, which is, being asked about some fan backlash. Some people were upset that Kanan got killed off in the first episode back. I loved it.
We need to go sit in the corner and think about them.
Well, see, Dave's putting the head muffs on because he's still behind, which we need to get you caught up.
I'm sorry, Dave.
But David, here's my question for you, because I wanted to get you in this conversation as well. The complaint about Rebels mid-season premiere is that they killed off Kanan in this first episode back, okay? And they didn't either take out a different character or they didn't wait long enough. And so they're asking him about the backlash, and he says, you gotta trust me, this is very well thought out. We know where this is going, we're gonna end it, it's gonna pay off. How do you feel about that statement from Dave Filoni compared to Rian Johnson several months before the release of The Last Jedi? And what did he say? Trust us. We know where this is going. This is something you've never seen before. Have faith. It's going to be what you want. I mean, I know you're not fully caught up with Rebels, but we've been told as fans to trust.
Right. So you have to trust the showrunner because it's their show, first and foremost. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. They change the showrunner every now and then, and people always get worried about it. But at the end of the day, first and foremost, it's still going to be Star Wars. Second, I think we can have a lot of faith in Dave Filoni because when Johnson took the helm, he had 0 hours of screen time with Star Wars content. Dave Filoni has, 8 seasons worth of content?
More than that, yeah.
Yeah. So his amount of screen time, the amount of Star Wars he's given us is outrageously vast, and if he thinks this is the direction it needs to be going, I think you guys should trust him, and I think when I get to that point, I'll trust him too.
Yeah, he's said it before, probably in Clone Wars. He's probably like, hey, trust me on this.
He has the reputation there with Star Wars content.
His resume is probably a lot stronger in this regard compared to Ryan.
It's, again, another reason, I feel like we say this a lot, it's why he should honestly be doing a live-action movie at this point. Like, he shows, and what I love about these 2 episodes, and I mentioned it in our review, is the fact that Dave Filoni can connect us back to previous seasons of Rebels, connects us to Clone Wars, throws in an Orson Krennic reference that connects us to Rogue One. There is no one out there that has a better mastery of Star Wars storytelling and Star Wars lore that has the ability to create the content. Mm-hmm. What did Rian Johnson not do that well? Didn't really connect it all to everything.
I don't want this to sound like we're bashing on Rian Johnson, but yeah, it's just comparing the two is just like, I mean, hands down, if this was 2 years ago when they're going, who do we want to direct The Last Jedi, and they put these 2 on the table, I mean, again, I would have chose Dave Filoni over Rian Johnson, just simply because Filoni has worked with George Lucas.
Extensively, yeah.
Extensively.
We talk about it all the time, the fact that he worked with him on the entire series of Clone Wars.
So it's just one of those things, I'm surprised they have this gold mine.
They need to take advantage of it.
And I don't feel like Kathleen Kennedy or Disney are tapping this resource fully.
Well, you know what? This kind of leads us into the next segment of the show. We have Blaster or Stash It right now, and what's the first topic that we're talking about? We're talking about another possible directing opportunity or directing option for Star Wars movies. Stash It or Blast It. I need to make sure I say the segment title correctly. That's kind of an important thing to do as the host of the show. But yeah, Black Panther recently, hit theaters last week, and it breaks the 4-day record, $242 million in the theater. And he has had a stellar time, this Mr. Coogler. His last 2 films, you might have heard of him, Fruitvale Station in 2013, Creed back in 2015. He has not missed. His 3 movies have been incredible. What has he done? He's at least doubled the budget of every movie he's been on until he gets to Black Panther and obliterates it. I mean, as far as being profitable, you get my point. He's just had a great run financially, but though each movie has been incredible. When Black Panther, MCU property, a Disney property, overtakes Star Wars The Last Jedi, you take notice of that. You take notice if it was any movie doing that. Should Coogler get a Star Wars movie? Blast it or stash it? David, I'll start with you.
I don't have a preference on this one because I think they're two very, very different beasts. Star Wars is giving their directors a lot of wiggle room to go do what they want, where Marvel brings everything very close to the chest so they have that consistent storyline.
See, I would agree with you, but in the last year and a half, I don't know if I would agree with that anymore because of, the course correction with Rogue One. They gave Rian Johnson freedom to do whatever he wanted, but Lord Miller would probably disagree with you. I would say that they would really loathe you for. Yeah, Colin would not be happy either. I think what it shows though is, what did we say on last week's show? We want you, if you're going to direct a Star Wars movie, we want you to give us the best story. We don't care about anything else. Whoever's going to give us the best story, they should direct a movie. Coogler's record is pretty solid, Jesse.
Here's the thing. I haven't seen any of those 3 movies.
You didn't see Creed?
I haven't seen
Oh
Creed.
my gosh, you revitalized the franchise.
I haven't seen Creed.
Oh my gosh.
Creed franchise?
Well, Creed is it's like Rocky Balboa, right?
Yeah.
So the Rocky movies, and then Creed is the son of... Oh, dude, we need to watch these.
So,
Creed.
I mean, I'm like, this is the thing, and I've heard, my Twitter feed has been blown up all last week about Black Panther. It's apparently, obviously, financially, it's doing fantastic in the box office. Everybody's loving it.
I've seen it 3 times. It's great.
So...
Don't judge.
No, I'm not judging, but that's why I'm kind of surprised. Like, you're not a little bit more excited about the fact that this guy who's been able to take a solo character and make this movie and make it so profitable.
I think what David was trying to say is that the Marvel universe is a completely different universe, and some people are able to handle that kind of story or that kind of universe, better. I'm not saying I'm not opposed to it. I mean, again, if he can deliver a story that I love, that is Star Wars, and leaves the baggage at the door,
Blast or stash it.
I would totally stash it.
Blast or stash it.
I'll keep half and throw the other half in the recycle bin.
You SOB. I'm going to say stash it. That's 2 stashes and 1 indecisive jerk. We're going to go ahead and jump to the next topic here on stash it or blast it. Or no. We're done with Stash It or Blast It. I think I got my show notes reversed, but we did talk about Star Wars Rebels. It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got it all in. Got a little confused. It's all good. Staying on Target is the last segment of the show, and we're going to start talking about that right now. And David, let's kind of go back to what we talked about earlier in the show. We had mentioned that Hasbro has this new feature, and get us up to speed on this.
So basically what it is, it's called HasLab, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring back old sets. So the first one on their list is the Vintage Collection Jabba's Sail Barge. And so what they're doing is they're asking for 5,000 people to pledge $499
A piece?
a piece
Ooh,
in order to make this happen. So when you go on, anybody can register, anybody can throw down their pledge, not a payment, for the $500. But when you do that, you put in your credit card number, etc. And then what they're doing is on April 3rd at 11:59 Eastern, they're closing it down. If they've hit their 5,000 people, then they charge your credit card the next day, and you get the sail barge, you get a Jabba the Hutt figure, you get the Vintage Collection packaging with limited edition HasLab seal of authenticity. You get the sail barge behind the workbench, a premium 64-page booklet, and then a dedicated ongoing stream of behind-the-scenes development updates. And then as soon as they're done, they ship it straight to you. If they don't hit their 5,000 people, giving them the $500 by April 3rd, they do not charge your credit card, nothing gets done, and then they determine what they're going to do next. If they're going to continue to do a HasLab and try to do a different...
Hearing that in detail, can we back up to the previous section?
I wish you would have had that blast or section. I'm going to blast that. I have no interest in that.
I'm sorry, but why, I can understand, setting a goal, okay, if we get 5,000 people to donate, I'd be more comfortable with $20, but $500 a pop? No, that's not good.
Yeah.
And even with all the extras there, that's not worth $500 to me.
Here's a baffling thing to me, is that's what, $2.5 million in order to make this cheap, I don't want to say cheap, this plastic toy.
That doesn't work for me.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I mean, I like the concept of it and everything, but I mean, you got to be a little bit more realistic. That's not a very friendly price point.
They've got about a month and a half. They're at 1827 of 5,000 backers. So they're 40% of the way there. I don't know. This would not be something that I would throw my money to.
Now, if I remember correctly, what little I read, this was kind of a testing the waters kind of thing.
Well, I'm going to give this an F. It fails.
So,
Failing test.
I don't know if this is something that I would have... Jabba's sail barge isn't something that I would have probably...
If you're going to put $500 towards anything, I say we put it towards the UCS Millennium Falcon.
I would agree.
There we go. Fair
I
enough.
would rather put $500 towards an Anovos, like, Boba Fett jetpack that's supposedly coming in the next year or so.
For your cosplay?
It's... maybe.
Okay.
I'd rather pay my rent.
What's your... Yeah, rent's always good to pay.
Rent, yeah, bills.
Staying on target, Jesse, what you got?
For me, I'm looking at upgrading from tactical like nylon stuff on my cosplay to leather, kind of looking at the process, what's needed for that. So it's kind of interesting. And then obviously Rebels is the big one.
Yeah.
Like Rebels has like my full attention right now.
It's going to be excited to see what drops, and of course the next 2 episodes drop this Monday on Disney XD. You can watch those. And then on Tuesday, Jesse and I will sit down for another installment of BTBD Rebels Reviews. And just so you know, this last time we did one sit down, we did both episodes. This time we're going to break it up. We're going to do each episode's going to get their individual mini episode, just so that way it's a little easier for you to consume. So looking forward to that. Also, going to have to go rewind for this. But the Star Wars show a couple weeks ago had Clancy Brown, who's a very popular voice actor, come on. He was the guy who did the voice of Savage Opress, the brother of Darth Maul in Star Wars The Clone Wars. They had him come on the show, guys, and he read lines of Anakin Skywalker from Attack of the Clones. And it was the funniest thing ever. Talks about sand. He does a dialogue from the dinner. It is so funny.
I'm like picturing that deep voice.
It is so funny. You have to watch it. It is totally worth your time. They do a great job. Andy Gutierrez over there does a great job for a Star Wars show, and everybody does. Really great work with them. But that was one of the standout moments in a while that I was like, that was genius. Like, that is genius.
I have that image in my head right now.
Should be running the internet. All right, so it sounds like that's what do you have for your stay on target? Because we're
getting a surprise Vader number 12 this week.
Yeah, so we are getting 2 Darth Vader issues in 1 month, which is a real nice treat here in February, and looking forward to seeing what that episode includes. I'm excited because David has his Mylar in, has his E. Gerber Mylights 2 in. We're gonna file some comics away tonight.
I have enough single comics now that I had to get like dividers so I can figure out what the hell I'm doing with them.
Jesse, you will become one of us soon enough.
One of us.
One of us. And you're going to spend a lot of money on it too, unfortunately. All right, cool. Well, that's going to do it for Staying on Target, and that's going to do it for our show here, Beyond the Blast Doors, episode 29 in the books, and it was an absolute ride. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our website, beyondtheblastdoors.com. That's where David, Jesse, myself, we post on there once a week, and something that really interests us, we kind of go more in depth, something that we couldn't talk about on the show maybe. So be looking out for us there. Also, you can always invest in exclusive content with Beyond the Blast Doors by going to patreon.com/Beyond the Blast Doors and helping invest in the show and helping us, keep the show on. Keep the lights on, per se. Like, actually keep these lights on. They're essential.
Didn't we used to have 3 lights?
We did have 3 lights, and then we dropped one. And that was a lot of shattered glass.
Oh no.
A lot of shattered glass. That's going to do it for episode 29. We'll see you soon. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can watch other videos just like this one right now by checking out these videos on your screen. And by the way, thanks for checking out Beyond the Blast Doors.